It was a typical Thursday at the Villa Bella restaurant, located in the heart of São Paulo. The establishment prided itself on its sophisticated dishes, imported wines, and exclusive clientele. The tables were covered with white linen tablecloths, crystal shimmered under the golden light of the chandeliers, and the aroma of truffles and mushrooms hung in the air-conditioned room. Around 2 in the afternoon, as the lunch rush started to die down, the manager, Fernando Costello, adjusted his Italian tie while overseeing the last few orders. Demanding customer, table 5 complaining about the steak's doneness. Just routine situations for someone running one of the most exclusive restaurants in the area. It was then that the glass door opened and a man, about 60 years old, walked in. His orange sanitation worker's uniform was visibly dirty from his morning work, his rubber boots still carried bits of trash stuck to the soles, and a faint odor of city streets accompanied him. His gray hair escaped from under his city hall cap, and his calloused hands held a small worn backpack. The man looked around curiously, taking in the refined decor, the paintings on the walls, and the discreet movements of the waiters. His eyes, however, showed no intimidation, just a silent assessment of the environment. The first reaction came from table 7, where a lady adorned with gleaming jewelry whispered to her companion, "My God, what a lack of common sense! How does someone like that even get into a place like this?" Waiter Ricardo was the first to approach, with a forced smile and a condescending tone. "Excuse me, sir. You must be lost. The service entrance is in the back, next to the kitchen." The sanitation worker looked at the waiter calmly and replied, "No, young man. I came through the main entrance. I need to take a look inside here." Fernando Costello, sensing the situation, quickly walked towards the entrance. His designer suit starkly contrasted with the visitor's simple uniform. "Sir, with all due respect, this is a private establishment. We have a standard of service to maintain. You surely understand our position." "Yes, I understand," the sanitation worker replied, keeping his voice serene. "But I really do need to take a look." A customer at table 3, an executive in a blue suit, commented loud enough to be heard, "It's incredible how some people don't know their place. He's probably looking for leftover food or something." The woman beside him chuckled discreetly, covering her nose with a perfumed handkerchief. "What an unpleasant situation. We waited here to have a differentiated experience and—"
Fernando felt the situation slipping out of control.
The sanitation worker's presence was clearly bothering his most important clients. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We don't want to create any embarrassment, but you're interfering with the atmosphere of our restaurant." The sanitation worker sighed deeply and began to turn towards the door. His expression showed weariness, as if he had been through similar situations many times. For a moment, it seemed he would simply leave in silence, taking the humiliation with him. "What a shame," murmured the lady from table 7. "In my day, people knew their place." But as the sanitation worker was almost at the door, something unexpected happened. The restaurant's phone rang, and the receptionist Carla answered with her usual professional voice. "Villa Bella, good afternoon." "What? Inspection today? But it wasn't scheduled for—" "Yes, sir. I understand. Arriving now." "Very well." Carla hung up the phone, her face pale, and urgently called Fernando. "Mr. Costello. It was from the health surveillance. The inspector is arriving now for a surprise inspection." Fernando felt his blood run cold. Surprise inspections were any restaurant's nightmare, especially when you weren't prepared. "No. But today's Thursday. They never come on Thursdays." He said they received an anonymous complaint about service irregularities and wants to check the general conditions, Carla continued, visibly nervous. The manager began to sweat, compulsively adjusting his tie. "Ricardo, go tell the kitchen, quick. Check if everything's up to par. Carla, organize the documents. Fast." Frantic movement took over the restaurant. Waiters discreetly rushed around, trying not to alarm the customers, while Fernando mentally calculated all the possible irregularities that could be found. It was in this moment of total panic that the sanitation worker, who had stopped near the door, slowly turned around. His posture completely changed. The apparent submission gave way to a firm, authoritative presence. "No need for all this rush, Fernando," he said, and his voice now carried unquestionable authority. "The inspector has already arrived." Fernando looked confused. "What do you mean?" Where? I didn't see anyone. The sanitation worker walked back to the center of the restaurant, pulling an official badge from the Municipal Health Surveillance Department out of his backpack. Allow me to introduce myself properly. João Santos Silva, Chief Inspector of the São Paulo City Health Surveillance. The silence that fell over Vila Bela was deafening. Fernando turned ashen. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ricardo dropped the tray he was carrying. The customers who had made malicious comments shrank into their chairs. "No, it can't be," Fernando stammered. You are. "I've been a sanitation worker for 35 years, João continued, maintaining a calm but firm tone. "And for 10 years, I've also been a health inspector. I work undercover precisely for situations like this, to see how establishments truly treat people when they think they're not being watched." The lady at table 7 was red with shame, trying to hide behind the menu. The executive at table 3 looked like he wanted to disappear underground. "Mr. Inspector," Fernando tried to recover, his voice trembling, "it was a terrible misunderstanding. We didn't know. I would never treat an inspector this way." João looked directly into the manager's eyes. "Exactly, Fernando. You didn't know. And that's why you treated an honest worker as if he were less of a person. The issue isn't how you treat an inspector. The issue is how you treat anyone who walks in here." The inspector slowly walked through the restaurant, observing every detail with professional eyes. "In 35 years of sweeping streets, I've seen it all. I've seen people ignore me as if I were invisible, others who greeted me with respect, and some who, like you today, treated me like I was a plague." He stopped near the executive's table. "You said I didn't know my place. You're right. My place is on the streets, keeping our city clean. My place is also here, ensuring that establishments like this follow health regulations. And my place is in any environment where I have the right to be, whether I'm wearing this uniform or any other." Fernando tried one last shot. "Mr. João, please, it was a mistake. We are a serious establishment. We respect all workers." "Respect?" João interrupted, pulling a small notepad from his backpack. "Then let's see if that respect extends to health regulations too. Because during these 15 minutes I spent here, I observed some interesting irregularities." The inspector began to list them with surgical precision. First, waiter Ricardo touched his hair 3 times and didn't sanitize his hands before handling the dishes. Second, the trash can by the side entrance was overflowing, violating the urban cleanliness code. Third, I noticed that some waiters are wearing jewelry on their hands, which goes against basic food handling regulations. With each item mentioned, Fernando shrunk further. The customers watched in absolute silence, some clearly embarrassed, others fascinated by the turn of events. "But what concerns me most," João continued, "are not these minor infractions. It's the discriminatory attitude I witnessed. An establishment that judges its customers by appearance may very well be improperly judging its hygiene practices as well." Ricardo, still in shock, tried to explain. "Mr. Inspector, I didn't mean to offend. I thought that." "You thought a sanitation worker had no right to be here," João completed. "And that mentality is exactly what creates environments where rules are bent as convenient." The inspector addressed Fernando again. "I will issue a formal warning for discriminatory conduct and inadequate service practices. You have 30 days to implement training on equal treatment for the entire team." Fernando nodded quickly, sweating. "Yes, sir. Of course. We'll do it immediately. As for the minor health irregularities I observed, I'll give you another chance. I'll return next week, without disguise, for a regular inspection. I expect to find an environment that shows respect for both the rules and the people." João put away his notepad and looked around the restaurant one last time. Some customers avoided his gaze, clearly ashamed of the comments they had made. "Allow me to offer a reflection," he said, addressing everyone present. "I work as a sanitation worker because I believe in the importance of keeping our city clean. I work as an inspector because I believe in the importance of keeping our establishments safe. In both roles, I serve society." He walked towards the door but turned one last time. "Every profession has its dignity. The man who collects your trash, who cleans your streets, who inspects your establishments, we all deserve the same basic respect. Not because we are undercover inspectors, but because we are human beings working honestly. The door closed behind João Santos Silva, leaving Villa Bella in a reflective silence. Fernando stood in the middle of the restaurant, processing what had happened. The customers whispered among themselves, some clearly embarrassed, others impacted by the lesson they had just witnessed.
Carla was the first to break the silence. Mr. Castello, what do we do now?
Fernando took a deep breath, adjusting his tie one last time. Now we learn. And we make sure this never happens again. Outside, João Santos Silva returned to his daily work. His broom swept the dry leaves from the sidewalk with the same dedication as always. Some passers-by greeted him with a respectful nod. People who, whether they knew about his second profession or not, recognized the value of his work. Sometimes, the biggest lessons come disguised as simple situations. And sometimes, the person you least expect holds the power to completely change your perspective on respect, dignity, and the true value of every human being. João's story quickly spread across social media, shared by restaurant employees who witnessed the scene. It became an example in corporate customer service training and a symbol of the importance of treating all people with equal dignity. Because in the end, we never truly know who the person in front of us is. And even more importantly, it shouldn't matter. Respect shouldn't depend on title, profession, or appearance. It should be a basic right for every human being we encounter.